My dearest Cancer, your grandfather in heaven has a secret to reveal. If you're hearing these words, know that this isn't just an ordinary video. This is a message meant just for you right now, an urgent whisper from the one you once called Grandpa. In the next 30 seconds, you'll know why your soul led you here. And if you stay until the end, I promise you'll hear what your heart has been waiting for, but never dared to believe was real. Have you been feeling something strange lately? A gentle breeze in the middle of the night, a dream that jolted you awake, a nameless longing, as if someone is whispering your name from far away. It's not a coincidence. Your grandfather from the world of light has sent a very clear message, and I've been chosen to speak it to you right now. He can no longer remain silent. There's a truth, a secret he's kept for a long time, and today he wants you to hear it with your whole heart. This is not entertainment. This is a healing ritual, a doorway open just for you, so you can remember who you are, and to begin something new, something your grandfather has quietly prepared long ago. So take a deep breath, because what comes next might make you cry, but these will be the first tears of freedom. Maybe you don't remember the last time you truly cried. Maybe you've learned to hide your tears behind polite smiles, but he knows. He always knew. He remembers the days you'd toddle around his feet or cling to his hand whenever something scared you. Every night you dream of someone coming back. Every time you hear a song and your heart skips a beat. Every time you stand among a crowd yet feel completely alone, he's there. Not to pull you back, but to remind you, you are not alone. And today, he's saying it loud and clear that the time has come to break the silence. Because some truths, if left unsaid, will keep making you doubt yourself, will keep making you think, maybe I'm not good enough, maybe I deserve to be abandoned. But no, my dear Cancer, your grandfather wants you to know, everything you've given was never in vain. Those times you messaged first, comforted first, accepted the pain, it wasn't because you were weak. It was because the love you gave came from a very real place. And he saw that. He remembers the way you cared for everyone around you, your endless concern even for the smallest things. But there's something he never told you until today. That two heavy-spirited souls once stood between you and your happiness. One was very close, someone who pretended to care, who called you best friend. But deep inside they carried comparison, envy, and a fear that your light would make them feel small. The other one, you might not clearly remember their face, but they once influenced the one you loved. They planted doubt. They twisted the truth. They used the softest words to slowly make you believe you weren't worthy. And because of that, love slowly drifted away. He saw it all. Every sleepless night. Every time you asked yourself, what did I do wrong? He remembers you asking him about love, about how people truly connect, and how sometimes being kind wasn't enough. But the truth is, you did nothing wrong. You simply believed too deeply in people who weren't ready to receive the kind of love you gave. Your grandfather doesn't blame you, never did. I was once like that too, my dear. I once gave my whole heart to someone and closed it off after not understanding how they could walk away so coldly. But then I realized not everyone has the courage to touch true love, because true love is a very strong kind of light, and if they're not healed, they'll retreat from that light. What breaks your grandfather's heart is seeing his grandchild begin to shrink herself, begin to think, maybe I should love less, give less. And that's when he knew he had to speak up right now. Because if you don't hear this today, you might go on living a life that isn't truly yours. A life where you're always cautious, always guarded, always afraid that if you love again, you'll break again. But you know what? You've already broken, and you're still here. You've walked through things that others would give up on just hearing about. I once thought a broken heart is the end. But after everything, I realized a broken heart doesn't make us weaker. It makes us transparent. Because only when we break open, we can no longer pretend. And that's when our soul begins to truly live. You are the proof of what your grandfather believes. A broken heart is not the end. It's the beginning of a soul that knows how to love without fear. And today, your grandfather doesn't just want to comfort you. He wants you to begin seeing yourself through new eyes, not with pity, but with gratitude. Because you bravely walked through the darkness alone. But from now on, you don't have to walk alone anymore. Because your grandfather is here. I am here too. And we are about to unveil something sacred that your grandfather has kept hidden all this time. He has waited for this moment for a very long time, not because he was angry, but because he knew that if you heard these things while your heart was still broken, you wouldn't believe. But now, your soul is mature enough to understand, strong enough to listen, strong enough not to blame yourself anymore. He wants to tell you this. That person, the one you loved so deeply, the one who made you feel like your whole world collapsed because of one cold message, that person was once very afraid of the love you brought, not because it wasn't enough, but because it was too pure, too sincere, too real. He remembers you asking him why sometimes being kind wasn't enough, why people didn't always appreciate it. He understands that feeling. And sometimes, deep kindness makes unhealed hearts feel exposed. They don't know how to receive it. That is not your fault. And this is the first lesson your grandfather wants you to keep. Don't let someone else's unreadiness define your worth. You are not too sensitive. You don't love too much. You are simply living true to your cancer soul, a soul that sees the pain in others and still chooses to love. This world needs more people like you, not fewer. There is something I want to share from the heart, as someone who has also carried a cancer soul inside, that sometimes I blamed myself for loving too honestly. I used to think, if only I were a little colder, maybe I wouldn't have been abandoned. But the more I grew, the more I realized a sensitive heart is a gift, and those who cannot receive that gift, it doesn't mean I have to change. And it's in these very moments that his presence feels strongest. Perhaps you're remembering a time he sat by you, sharing wisdom, telling you stories, gently stroking your hair as you drifted off to sleep. If these words are resonating deeply with you, and you miss your grandpa immensely, please leave a comment below with "Grandpa, I miss you so much," and share a meaningful memory you have of him. I believe he's smiling and listening from above. And if you find these messages meaningful, consider subscribing to this channel to receive more whispers from the light world. Your grandfather knows there are days when you want to stop believing in goodness. There are mornings you wake up feeling empty, and there are moments when you think, maybe I'll just live quietly, not needing anyone to be real anymore. But that's not you. You are the one who once smiled at a rainstorm, who once gave warm words to someone the world turned its back on. You are the one who knows how to love unconditionally, even after being hurt so many times. And because of that, your grandfather wants you to learn one more thing. Love should not be a reward. It is a right. You don't need to be worthy to be loved. You just need to be yourself. And the right person will see that light. He doesn't promise that the old one will return, but he promises this. The next person will be someone who is not afraid of the light in you. That person will not walk away when you are honest. That person will not make you guess their thoughts every night. And that person will not need you to shrink just so they feel big enough. I've been in a relationship where every time I said I'm sad, They told me I was being negative. I once tried to feel less, speak less, to seem easier to be around. But in the end, the thing that hurt the most wasn't that they left. It was that I once left myself to keep them. And I don't want anyone to trade their truth for a love that isn't true. And your grandfather also says this to you. Don't wait for someone to apologize to begin forgiving. Forgiveness is not because they deserve it, but because you deserve to be free. You are no longer the girl who collapsed over someone who couldn't hold your heart. You are no longer the one who needs to prove your worth. Now you are the one who chooses yourself, and your grandfather is proud of you, more than anyone who's ever said they loved you. He remembers the way you used to stand by his side, helping him with small tasks, that innocent, loving gaze in your eyes. There is one more thing your grandfather cannot leave unsaid. A door is opening, but he whispers in every dream, not for you to see it, but for you to feel it with your heart, because what's coming will not be loud. It won't look like a big opportunity, not fireworks, not thunder, but just a small message, a glance that lingers, a person who randomly mentions something and your heart suddenly goes quiet. Your grandfather wants to ask you this. Do you still believe in things you can't see but your heart knows are real? If so, then this is the moment not to ignore them. Don't ignore your intuition. Don't ignore the tiny signs you once thought were just coincidences, because they're not. Nothing is a coincidence when your heart quietly trembles. He told me very clearly that you once said yes to others but rejected yourself. I once stepped back so others could step forward. I once smiled when I wanted to cry. And during that time, he remained silent because he respected your choices. But today he speaks up, because if this time I continue to miss myself, maybe I'll forget who I truly am, and that he cannot allow to happen. Do you remember the last time you chose yourself? Not choosing a hairstyle or a meal, but choosing a life where you didn't have to try so hard just to be loved. Choosing a place where you didn't have to apologize for your feelings. Choosing someone you didn't have to pretend to be strong for just so they wouldn't leave. If you don't remember, then this is the invitation. An invitation from your grandfather, from the world of light, saying, it's time. It's time for you to rise, not to fight, but to receive yourself, to receive the goodness you once thought you didn't deserve. Have you ever rejected happiness because you thought it wouldn't stay? Have you ever pushed someone away just because you feared they'd leave someday? My dear Cancer, your grandfather wants you to know, you are no longer that little girl who had to live in waiting. You don't have to beg for love, don't have to strain to be worthy. You only need the courage to believe that the best things in your life can begin today. From the very moment you dare to say, I choose myself. And if I may share something very honest, I didn't used to choose myself either. I used to sit in the middle of loud parties, feeling completely empty inside. I used to smile brightly hearing others' happiness. But at night I'd collapse under an invisible weight, just because at the time I believed keeping peace for others was more important than being true to myself. But it's not. And I wish someone had told me this earlier. Choosing yourself is not selfish. Choosing yourself is the only way to truly love others without losing your own soul. You know, there are moments in life when we think we've stayed silent for too long, that no one hears us anymore. But the truth is the opposite. Sometimes it's in that very silence that the quietest prayers are heard the loudest. Maybe you don't even remember the last thing you prayed for, because you've grown too tired to keep hoping. But your grandfather hasn't. He never stopped speaking on your behalf. He named the things you no longer dared to wish for. And I believe this, truly believe, that the universe never turns away from a plea born of genuine love. It might not come right away. It might not come the way you expected, but it will come when you're brave enough to open your heart to receive it. I used to think forgiveness was the hardest thing, but in truth, the hardest thing is forgiving yourself for loving too much, trusting too deeply, and hoping for too long. I used to blame myself for not being more alert, but now I understand. We are not weak because we loved. We are simply those who didn't want to shut our hearts too soon. And that is not wrong, my dear. I've met so many people in life, strong, independent, successful. But when it comes to emotions, all they wish is for someone to tell them, "You don't have to try so hard just to be loved." They, just like you and just like me, simply want someone who understands them without needing explanations. And your grandfather, he is the first person who understood you that way. He saw you when you could no longer see yourself. He believed in you, in the softest part of your being, the part you once despised, thinking it made you weak. But he said this, something that still brings tears to my eyes when I recall it. It's that soft, tender part that is the most beautiful part of you. Because you've known pain, you know love. Because you've been broken, you don't hurt others with indifference. And he begs you not to forget that. You know, there's something I always carry with me, that every time you survive a pain that could have destroyed you, the light within you becomes stronger. Every time you forgive, you're healing a piece of your ancestral line, connecting to the profound love Grandpa poured into you. And every time you choose kindness, even when no one sees, you are making the world just a little lighter. That is why your grandfather never stops reminding you. You didn't come here to live a small life. You came to awaken yourself and those who have lost their way. So if today you feel like you've reached your limit, if you feel like you're standing in the middle of nowhere, not knowing what's next, your grandfather wants you to remember, it doesn't matter what you've lost. What belongs to you through the heart, through light, through kindness, is starting to come back. In this time, it doesn't come in the form of a challenge, but in the form of something you've long deserved to receive. My dear Cancer, if you're still listening to these words, then I want to give you a hug from the heart, because I know only a courageous heart dares to listen this deeply. Your grandfather is smiling from that place too. He says, "Thank you for not giving up. Thank you for choosing to live even when you couldn't see a reason. Thank you for coming back to yourself." And I, with all the love one can send through a screen, also want to thank you, because you've proven that you don't have to scream to be strong. You don't have to be understood to keep loving. As long as the heart still beats, there's still a chance to begin again. Not from the beginning, but from a deeper place where your true self is finally allowed to exist. Dear one, your grandfather left behind one last thing, a sentence I've repeated many times lately. But this time, I want you to receive it as a soul vow. Place your hand over your heart, take a deep breath, and read it slowly with me. I am no longer the old version of myself. I do not live to please, to be chosen, or to be kept. I live to be myself, whole, kind, and full of light. I forgive myself for once believing I wasn't good enough. And from today on, I no longer ask for love. I welcome love as a sacred gift I deserve to receive. Your grandfather is still here, and I am ready to move forward. If you feel this video touch something in your heart, let me know with a whisper in the comments. You don't have to say much, just one honest sentence. I'm here. Because maybe that small sentence will be the guiding light for another weary soul. And if you feel like keeping this ritual a little longer, you can save it or share it with someone you feel might need it. This is not a video. This is a doorway, and I believe you've just walked through it. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Grandpa, for sending the message. Thank you, dear heart, for still beating. See you again when the soul speaks once more, in another ritual, in another space, but always in love.